The Appennino Tosco-Emiliano National Park. The Appennino Tosco-Emiliano National Park lies between the mountains along the border between the two regions of Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna, a place where mountain peaks reach over 2,000 metres with forests and wonderfully pure air. The park is part of the Appennino Tosco-Emiliano Biosphere Reserve, which covers a much larger area, where humans and nature live side by side in harmony, thanks to some very special projects. Looking around, you will see different natural habitats offering great walking paths, beech forests, fir tree forests, blue lakes and crystal clear rivers, meadows and rocky peaks. You will be able to see a variety of plants growing quite close to one another, some typically found in Mediterranean scrub, like the evergreen myrtle bush with its scented leaves and white or pink flowers, or gorse with its yellow flowers and tiny leaves, and others like strong oak and beech trees which can withstand the cold. Similarly, with the animals that live in the park, some species you would associate more with the Mediterranean climate, like hares and dormice, and others, more commonly found in colder climates, prefer the areas of the forest in the park, like stags and roe deer. A very, very long time ago, men and women lived in this place, and many different populations over hundreds of years have left traces of their time spent here, like the Liguri or ancient Ligurians, the Apuan Ligurians, the Etruscans and the Romans. Statues and large ancient cemeteries, also called necropolises, have been discovered here, for example. A famous ancient path once used by pilgrims travelling from France to Rome passes right near the park, through the Appennino Tosco-Emiliano Biosphere Reserve. It's called the Via Francigena, a route connecting Italy to northern Europe, along which, over time, hamlets and castles with towers were built as resting places for the pilgrims, as well as sanctuaries and monasteries. Lots of tourists and pilgrims still travel along the Via Francigena today, passing through villages and forests as they do so. The Via Francigena is not the only walking route you can do near the park, however. There are some other very ancient paths, like the Via del Volto Santo, which starts in the town of Pontremoli and crosses Tuscany for about 160 kilometres, passing through mountain villages, castles and over stone bridges. The path eventually leads us to a wooden statue inside the Duomo di Lucca, Lucca's cathedral, the statue of Volto Santo, also known as the Holy Face of Lucca. There is another even longer path in the same area called the Via Matildica del Volto Santo. This one is 284 kilometres long and crosses through 3 different regions, Tuscany, Emilia-Romagna and Lombardy. Both of these routes pass through Garfagnana, an area with lots of forests and towns to visit like Barga, Castiglione di Garfagnana or Minucciano. There are lots of tales that have been told about these places, and there is one in particular that we'd like to share with you about witches. Not just female witches though, male witches too. In the dark nights of Garfagnana, in a time before we had mobile phones with torches to give us light, old folk would gather round a fireplace and tell stories of having seen figures in the mountains, witches. There were groups of men and women who would meet at night to dance in meadows around a tree or form long processions in the valleys. Having magical powers, these witches would also transform themselves into animals like cats or owls. There are several different entrances to the park and a total of 11 visitor centres that you will find in little villages dotted around the edge of the park. These are the perfect starting points for trips, where you will find maps and all the information you need to explore the park on foot, as well as information on where you can sleep immersed in nature and where to eat some tasty local dishes. As soon as you start walking, you will be surrounded by the forest, and you will see that the beech trees, with their long straight trunks, create wonderful green tunnels. Every season, the forest changes colour. In springtime, it's full of different colours, which is when the anemones and cyclamen flowers blossom, colouring the large fields with patches of white, pink and red. The rare Apennine primula also blossoms in the spring, at the end of April, with its characteristic blue and violet flowers with a yellow centre. As we walk through the forest, we will be able to smell the damp earth and the scent of flowers. We will hear the birds chirping and the leaves rustling in the wind. In May, the wonderful fields of Logarghena, Prati di Logarghena, in the municipality of Filattiera, are a breathtaking sight. The grass becomes covered with rush daffodils, also known as narcissus, in white, yellow, orange and pink, shaped like little trumpets. Legend has it that up here in these forests, on the 24th of June, St. John's Day, the distinct bright orange St. John's lily, or fire lily, will come into flower. In the summer, the forest is completely green and the edges of the paths are lined with forest fruits, strawberries, raspberries, blackcurrants and blueberries that you can pick and eat. In autumn, the forest turns red, orange and yellow and fills with mushrooms, chestnuts and truffles. These are all wonderful things to eat and are ingredients used in traditional local recipes. If you visit the park at this time of year, try and go to one of the local food festivals called Sagre or Feste Paesani, held in some of the villages across the park, where you can taste lots of local specialities. Early autumn is also the perfect time to walk along the Sentiero dei Ducati, a trekking route which connects Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna through some beautiful countryside. Along the route, you can also admire castles, churches and medieval villages. Even in winter, despite the cold, the park offers some incredible landscapes. Often it is completely covered in snow, even at low altitudes. The snow can fall and cover the land in very different ways, however. When fresh snow falls, all light and fluffy, it covers the ground with one even soft layer, ideal for making snowmen, playing with snowballs, and for winter sports like skiing and snowboarding. After having been trampled on by visitors and animals, the snow becomes more solid and resistant, creating a hard, thick layer, making it much easier to walk on. Wet snow can make it harder to move around, and it can create a risk of avalanches. This is why it's always best to ask an expert environmental guide or someone who works in the park where it is safe to walk. There are several ski resorts in and around the territory of the park, like the Casone di Profecchia resort, which is a place suitable for those who are also starting to learn how to ski. In the snow, you can also explore the Appennino Park in different ways. One great option is to walk on the snow with spiked snowshoes called ciaspole, which fix to the bottom of your ski boots so you don't sink in the fresh snow. All of the mountain villages offer guided trips, either during the day or at night with a full moon, organised by the mountain lodges or by expert guides. When you're on these adventures, you can follow nature trails, hunting for animal tracks or walking along ice-cold streams. The forests of the Appennino Tosco-Emiliano National Park are a haven for many different species of wild animals. The Apennine wolf, for example, is one of the most fascinating inhabitants of the park. You may be able to spot its footprints in the mud when walking along the paths. As well as wolves, the park is home to deer, wild boar, foxes and badgers. If you're lucky, in the skies, you may see a golden eagle flying around the peaks looking for prey. Peregrine falcons also find their ideal habitat in the park, thanks to the rocky slopes where they can build their nests. If you decide to head towards the top of the mountains, you'll notice that at a certain point the forests end. Above 1,700 metres in height, the climate in the Apennines is usually too cold, so trees can't survive up there. Up at these heights, you will find yourself in a moorland, an open space full of blueberry bushes, rhododendrons and juniper, all low plants that the icy winds can't destroy. This habitat is also home to the snow vole, a little animal that looks a bit like a mouse and that loves eating blueberries. Eventually, you will reach the crest of the mountain, a truly magnificent place. A crest is a long and narrow strip of land that runs across the mountaintop, like a road that lets you see down both sides of the mountain. It's like being on top of the world. Up on the crest, you will find an area of meadow, an open space covered in tall grass, flowers and a scattering of bushes where many insects as well as marmots will be hiding. One of the places in the park with one of the most spectacular views is Mount Prado. At 2,054 metres, it's the highest peak in Tuscany. From here, the views stretch in every direction, and all around you will see sequences of mountains that disappear into the horizon. On a clear day, you can even see the sea, the Tyrrhenian Sea. there are some very beautiful trips that you can do inside the park, like the one to Pane di Corfino. At the foot of this mountain is the Orecchiella Park, a nature reserve with lots of walking paths, mountain bike routes and horse trails. The forests here are inhabited by wild animals like the Apennine wolf, stags, wild sheep and golden eagles. Inside the Orecchiella Nature Park is a must-see attraction, the Maria Ansaldi Pane di Corfino Botanical Garden. In this garden, you will be able to see plant species which are very difficult to find elsewhere. Some rare species of plant are actually being protected here, and you will be able to see different blossoms ranging from spring through to summer. The park and the whole biosphere reserve have a rich cultural history. You will be able to visit ancient places like the Pieve di Sorano, a church made completely of stone in the municipality of Filattiera, or the Fortezza delle Verrucole in San Romano in Garfagnana, a real fortress with its tall walls and watchtower. There are also some beautiful little villages called borghi, for example San Pellegrino in Alpi, which is right on the border between Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna, and is the highest village in the whole of the Apennines. The route to get there is full of curves, but once you arrive, you will see a view across the whole of the Apian Alps and across Garfagnana. There is a sanctuary here dedicated to Saint Pellegrino, or San Pellegrino. The story of San Pellegrino tells of how he used to be a prince, but he decided to change his life and dedicated himself to prayer. He travelled as a pilgrim across the whole of Europe until he reached the Alps, where he decided to make his home in a beech tree. San Pellegrino hated the devil who kept trying to attack him. According to the story, one day Pellegrino was so angry with the devil that he gave him a punch, which sent him flying down the valley until he hit the mountains. He hit the mountains with such force that he actually made a hole, creating that day Monte Forato. Through forest trails, food festivals, stone churches and legends, we have come to the end of this adventure. There are so many wonderful things to do in the Appennino Tosco-Emiliano National Park. You simply need to come and explore it. Don't forget to bring the whole family. The Parks, A Listening Journey, is a project of 6 podcasts using accessible language created to share fun facts, stories, myths and legends and provide information on the wildlife of 6 great protected areas of Tuscany. A journey for all.